situation because they'll know how to do it.
But we don't right now.
They'll know how to do it.
What about right now?
What about the whole This is a brand new thing. You have to wait and give it time to work.
There's everything everything that's new. There's always kinks. If new software comes out, there's always something new, or there's kinks in the new program. And right now, it's new. There's going to be kinks in it, but eventually it'll work out.
I mean, I had to strive in order to get to where I am right now. I mean, back when I was living in North Carolina, I had my dad always employed. My mom from the Philippines, she never made it past the 6th grade. She never graduated high school. And then my brother had to work at the time. I had to work on my own, ask teachers for help. So I know what you guys are saying, but I still had the opportunity to get up there at the time.
They're not executing this properly. I mean, I know it's new, but you're asking kids, like we said earlier, who have been learning an entirely different method for the majority of our high school and middle school and whatnot career, and now you're just pushing it on us at the very end.
No, what Dakota was saying.
Okay, and if the thing with the math thing is that, okay, the whole teaching it way, well, we have common standards for what we're supposed to know. Why don't we have common standards for how we're supposed to teach it? Maybe that would help with the situation.
Okay, so what Dakota was saying earlier about how some kids, they can't learn it, so they push them to try harder and harder. If you keep pushing that child to learn all this information and cram it in their head at one time, they won't learn all of it. They'll just push it out because they're under stress and they can't learn all of this at one time.
What if they're working so hard in like one area that they can't put all that effort into another?
Okay, you have 1 year in in the math class, you have 1 year. You're not just cramming it in their head. They're going about it slowly. I could see if we were just in 1st grade, they give us decomposing. All right. They taught, using her as an example, taught Charlie how to, all right, take that, 10 plus 5. They didn't just give them that. They taught them the way how to do it.
I think the reason why we think it's so hard to comprehend is because we grew up thinking, okay, 9 plus 5, or 9 plus 5 is 15 or 14.
You're not helping.
But I think since we grew up knowing how to do it a different way, we think this is really hard. But how do we know what that little girl or little boy doesn't know how to do right off the bat? Because, I mean, I was taught 10 plus 5 is, I thought it's 15. You think so. But how do they, when they do the decomposing, how do you not know that that isn't easy for them?
I mean, it might be easy for them, but I don't remember who said it, but about the whole thing about how parents are going to be able to help their kids. I'm not going to be able to help my kid with that if they do something complicated because I didn't grow up learning it, like Chris said. Now, okay, my kids are going to be able to help their kids great because that's what they're going to grow up learning, but that's not helping us now. We've learned Arkansas standards our whole life except for the past 2 years. So why is that going to help us now? We're fixing to graduate next year. Why does it matter to us now? It matters to the kids that are in elementary school right now, or the kids who are in middle school, 6th grade, just learning that because they have more time. We don't. So maybe that's why it's harder for us to understand it, because we did grow up like Chris said. But if we're just fine with it, then it doesn't matter.
And what Chris said about the whole situation.
Okay, Chris.
All right, so we've had SmartCore for the last 2 years. Who noticed it? No, I'm talking about noticed it like in class, like you went, oh dude, this is a whole lot harder. We must be on Common Core.
Common Core or SmartCore?
Common Core. If we've been on Common Core for the past 2 years.
That's what Ms. Bogner said yesterday. She was saying how the kids were being taught
You're taking our time.
but then they were being tested with the Arkansas, what was it called?
You're the moderator. You're not supposed to be arguing.
No, I'm just trying to...
Okay, I'm saying, we've been on Common Core for the past 2 years. How would you, have any of y'all really recognized the difference? Because I really have not. For you, Jacob, I'm not talking about your sister, Abby.
No, I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about me.
You have had what was it?
If you look at my pre-cal compared to y'all's pre-cal,
You had a different
y'all's
teacher.
is 10 times harder than what mine was.
Probably why I had to be.
You had a different teacher.
Different book
Well,
subject.
I didn't notice, and you weren't in it when you noticed, so you didn't go, oh, dude, this got a whole lot harder, like I gotta learn a whole lot more really fast. See, I don't think, this right here, cite strong and thorough textual evidence, that's, what is that? Citing your source, citing what's in it, that's just big words for the little things we do all the time. I don't think they're learning anything more than we learned back then, except they just need to have a base. We've gotten off of what the heck Common Core is. We're talking about how to teach it. Common Core is standards every student should know for each grade. But what is wrong with that? I don't know how to decompose that stuff, but like I said, I didn't grow up doing it. So.
And what y'all are saying is they're implementing it right now to us. I admit that's wrong because we don't know how to do it.
Hardest time.
But like I said, you're talking about the whole thing about how we've gotten into how they're teaching it. Like I said earlier, make standards for how they teach it so that everybody learns it the same. Because if one teacher's teaching the decomposing and the other's teaching it like we knew it, then why not make a standard so you learn the same things, exactly the same things in every state?
I got one.
Okay, so you're Jasmine, right? Okay, so what Jasmine was saying earlier about how, what I said earlier about how kids who can't learn cramming it in their head, I'm not talking about like a whole year. What if they come from a different state and it's like 2 months till the end of school and they're so far behind in math they can't learn anything?
Exactly.
And like they're trying to get crammed in
Because
their
you'd
head.
be on the same place.
If you have the same,
Hey, let them talk. Let them talk.
I want to make a point on that. Is that time?
Yes.
Yeah. Terrell's been wanting to talk, but people keep taking his place.
All right, talk guys.
Go.
No, it doesn't even matter anymore. Okay? I was gonna say that it's good that we're versatile for what we learn because like y'all said, like you might need certain things for certain things to get to places like college. You might need a foreign language, you might need whatever. If we know all this stuff already, we're already in the clear, and then we're all gonna keep going up. I forgot what else I was gonna say because y'all wasted time.
Yeah, based on his point, if we all are on the same level, then it's like we're not really like there's not people falling behind working at like McDonald's because they didn't want to like they didn't reach the standards because they're gonna reach the time or reach the standards, and more people will be able to go to college because they are at the standards instead of people. They're like, oh, I don't know how to do this, I'm not going to do it. Teachers are going to sit there and try to teach you to their best ability. That's mostly what Common Core is about, and trying to get you to that level of where you need to be. It's not trying to make you like saying you need to learn this right here, right now.
So, because we're going to be teaching it differently, the lazy kids who don't want to do it are going to want to do it suddenly. I mean, that's basically what you just said to me, is what it sounded like. That you were saying that there's all these people who are like not wanting to do it, but the teachers are going to try and try and try. Do they not try right now? Do they not try and teach you and try and get you to go to your best potential right now?
So are you gonna put Common Core at college level so every kid can go to college? Those college applications that come in are gonna pick the higher standard of the kids that apply.
And that's cool. Be people that are hired by the people.
I mean, if we all want to be at the same level, then go ahead, but you're going to have to teach it the same at every school. Because, okay, you go state to state, yeah, you're going to learn the same thing, but you're going to learn it completely different, maybe. Like, we might teach it here somewhere, and New York might teach it different.
Okay, what's the difference between learning the same thing two different ways? If I learn that 10 plus 5 is 15 and you learn it through decomposing but we get the same answer, what's the difference? Like why does there have to be two different ways? So if you go to two different states and they're teaching it two different ways, and like y'all said, when y'all get to college, colleges are mostly private. You have to apply to go, and so if you apply to go, I mean that's like past high school. All Common Core is they just want y'all to have a base for each level. I think y'all are looking more into how it's being taught more than the idea of Common Core being the base. And I do understand that some kids learn slower, but if you learn slower, just I don't know. Common Core is not as hard as y'all think it is. We've been doing it all our life.
Okay, and Bethany, on your point, like, yeah, there are going to be kinks. Again, it's new. You have to just wait and see. Literally,
then fix the kinks.
Okay, but Chris, on what you said the child might go to a different school and they're teaching it a completely different way than the other school. But what if the way that the other school's teaching it is holding the kid back?
And I mean, I'm sorry if I'm not like top 5 of my class all A student and don't understand every single thing, but that's just how
The
it
whole
goes.
9+6 thing, like, if you teach it one way, like we learned it, and you go to a school that teaches it the decomposing way, and the teacher says you have to do it that way, but the kid doesn't understand it that way, then it's not the same answer to the teacher.
It's the same answer. Not the same.
Technically, but the teacher doesn't see it that way. All right.
Well,
Time. Okay, I just want to say something real quick. Yo, I agree that if we're gonna do Common Core, that every teacher should teach it the same way, not different people teaching it different ways. Because I admit that would be confusing. One person going from one school to the next, and they're teaching the same thing but different ways. And I mean, you can learn how to do it. You can learn how to do it because it's not that complicated sometimes. But I mean, it's still. I admit it's still complicated.
I'm going to disagree with you on something like right there, because Common Core, it doesn't restrict on how the teacher teaches the subject. It sets a limit to what they have to teach at the end of the year. The teacher only teaches one way for the entire thing that they have to learn, and if kids still don't get it, that's the teacher's fault. It doesn't limit how they teach it. They have to use a different variety of ways if like the majority of the kids don't get it. So if they only teach one way, that falls on the teacher's problem, not the kids. That's Common Core.
Like what he's saying, like you know Miss Rose's class. She teaches us different ways how to do every single math problem that we do. She's like, this is the easier way, this is the hard way.
Now, I also agree with us not governing like millions of teachers on how they need to, but that's because like we also need diversity. Like a lot of the history classes, what all their standard is to hand them a book, give them little worksheets and whatnot, and that's it. But Miss Presley, like let's use her as an example. She sits down and tells us stories, she gets us interested, and like I think I've learned more in her class than any history class. And that's only over a small period of time. Over like world history, which was huge, all we did was worksheets. But that's the standard.
Back to what Ryan was saying earlier about how teachers in math class try to teach their kids, but some lazy kids just don't want to do it. I mean, that's their choice, but if they want to fail, they want to fail, and you can't really force them to learn something they don't want to do. Because they just don't want to do it.
Alright, one. My question for everyone. Who in here has seen the movie Stand and Deliver?
I think so.
It's the one about the Latino students
Oh,
who went from being delinquents to passing the calculus exam.
Are you talking about that?
Yeah.
The terrible movie we
Okay.
have to watch.
Now at the end of the movie, they all took the test, and they were all accused of cheating because of one thing. They all got the same wrong answers wrong. If you'll just let me finish.
Okay.
By having all, like, take that and put it on a national level. Like Bethany said, if we have all the teachers teaching the same way, that pretty much just makes everything more logical. Because that means that all the students of the nation are going to miss the same problems if they're taught the same way. And then if you teach it the same way, you actually have time to go back and help the students who are falling behind. But if you teach it in multiple different ways, it's just going to confuse the students even more.
No,
And
it's
then no. Hold on. 2, Common Core. It sets that standard for the minimum. What do you think happens to the student if they are notified of the minimum, they need to be at this certain time, and they don't reach it? What do you think that does to their self-confidence as a student and as their ability?
Can I make a comment on that, please?